So last night I was doing some data sets for myself, specifically with pixel art in mind, and I was doing front and back sides of characters since this is how I train my data sets. But suddenly I was struck by the idea, what if I use the same technique that I do my front and back views of my characters to create an entire character sheet specifically for 8-bit games or for GIFs? And what you see on the screen right now are some of my results that I've managed to get with the technique I'm going to show you today. So here you can see all of the animations at once, and they look pretty well. Keep in mind, this will be quite memory intensive for some users, and it may not work for everybody, but at least I'll share my workflow, and hopefully this will help other people to improve on my workflow and the way I do things. But first, let's start from the beginning. So, how do we approach tasks similar to this? Well, the first thing I need to find to do was to find good animations or some basic animations that I can use to create a reference that I can later create in a sheet and use that as a training, as a generation data. So the first thing I did is I went on YouTube and I found some decent videos that actually can help me to achieve what I wanted. So let's look at the first one. Here is the walk animation. I've just opened a YouTube video and captured a few frames. So as you can see, we have a walk cycle, as well as I did a punch animation. And two idle animations that I have. I just capture a few frames since all I just need is to extract the skeleton data from those images. So how do we do that? Well, it's quite simple actually. Let me open Automatic 1111. The first thought I had was to put all those images together and generate all the skeletons at once. But the main issue with ControlNet is that when you put too much information into it, the model gets confused. So just to show you how I do this, I'm just going to write something very simple here. Character. And what I want to do is I want to load my image here. Next, we'll enable ControlNet, and for processor, we're going to select OpenPose, and for model, we're going to select again Control OpenPose. For resolution, I highly recommend 768 by 768, and I'll explain in a second why. For sample steps, doesn't matter. We're just interested in extracting the skeleton data from this image. So the result that we're going to get is completely irrelevant to us. So once I get this, what you want to do is save it and remove this frame, and then repeat the whole process for all the other frames as well. I know it's tedious, but so far this is the best way you can do it. So once you're done with this, you will end up with those few images, which are the raw animation. And this is what we need, simply because this is a 8-bit type of workflow that we're doing. So we're aiming to achieve that old retro feel of the time period for those games. And next, I did this as well for walking, for punching, and for the other two idle animations. The next step was to organize those. So first, let's do some simple math, because this is going to be important, and I'll explain why. Let's go to our animation and let's look at one of our images. So right now we have an image that's 768 by 768. And since we need to make a spreadsheet for those, we need to create inside of Photoshop a file that is 3840 pixels. And simply because I had time and went and did it, this is how this file looks, and I'll explain you why it looks like this. So each number represents each individual frame, and in this example we have 25 frames that we can work with. And since my animations are quite small, 3 of the animations have only 5 frames, which is totally fine, and 1 of the animations has 9 frames. And this is something you should keep in mind when doing animations or extracting this way data from images to create frames with, simply because you're limited to this amount of frames for your entire design. And why are you limited? Let me go back into automatic layout and quickly explain. Whenever we press generate and we create a design, if we introduce few skeletons at the same time, or for example, one that's looking forward and one that's looking backwards, they will understand that this is the same character and is going to reproduce front and back view of the same character simply because it's adding noise to the entire image and it's diffusing it at the same time. But if we try to do the same thing, for example, lock the seed and redo everything over again, simply by changing the poles, I will show you quickly so you can get a better understanding of the issue here. Let's load this and let's disable our preprocessor. So while having this image, if we just simply press generate with the same settings and everything, the main issue that will happen now is that the character will change no matter the seed, simply because we've introduced it different locations for the head and the arms and everything else, and we will not get the same consistency simply because those are in different space on our image. So at the moment, with the current technology and what we have, we're currently limited at 25 frames. But with those 25 frames, we can do really cool things. So I intentionally put numbers simply because this is how sprite sheets are read most of the time, and this is how you need to organize all your extracted images. And this is what actually we're going to use in a moment to split those images and transform this into a GIF. But first, let me show you how to organize these. So all you need to do once you extracted all your frames is go inside of Photoshop, drop them in the same file. And now once you have all of them, what you want to do is start going one by one and organizing each one of them so they're at the proper spot with the proper time. And just for time's sake, I'm not gonna do this because I already did it, and I'm gonna show you how mine looks, and I'm gonna explain you what's what. So this is my sheet. Keep in mind the background sheet and this sheet with my extracted frames will be available free, so you will be able to download it from Civitai. So you can experiment directly with my results, but at least this way you have a better understanding how to extract frames for yourself and how to use those to create those sheets. So from 1 to 9, we have my walking cycle. Frame 10 is empty because we don't have anything for it. And from 11 to 15 is my first idle animation. From 16 to 20 is my second idle animation. And from 21 to 25 is my fist hitting animation. So the next thing we want to do now is we want to go back to automatic layout. Let me remove this, and since I've already exported this, all I need to do is load my large sheet here. For example, this is 3840 by 3840. You don't have to worry about that. The resolution of this will change automatically when we predefine our resolution here. And here comes the tricky part and something that you should be aware of. Personally, for me, I have a 3090 and I'm able to do this. I would prefer to go to 248 by 248 and do a generation like this. I'll set my samples to 12, my CFG scale to 7, and I will enter my prompt here. And in this case, this is going to be pixel art character sheet, male warrior, pixel art style. And I'm also going to include one more sentence that will assist the AI to understand what it's seeing. Multiple views of the same character. So I've already generated this, but to show you how to do it if you have a lower GPU, I'll give you some recommendations and an idea how you can achieve this. But keep in mind, you may not get the best results out there, but with 2048 by 2048, you will get the best ones. But if you have a lower GPU or you have less VRAM and you cannot run this, at least go with 1500 with 1500. Make sure that you have Xformer installed and enable high-res fix. Change the upscaler to Rio ESG GAN 4 Plus and change the denoising strength to 0.3. And then what you want to do is to press generate. Since I want to save some time and not to have to generate it, I will already show you the generated result that I got. So if we go here, you can see my sheet already generated. It was generated directly in 2K, simply because I have the RAM to do it. And as you can see, since we're generating everything at once with all of our different poses, we're getting a result like this. Also, to get to be able to read the file, make sure that in your preprocessor you have preprocessor selected to none, and you're just using the control open pause. If you forget by accident open pause selected here, the model will get confused and it will not be able to extract all of those pulses. So since we already have the pulses generated from ControlNet one by one and then organized in this larger file, we can directly take control. Actually, we can directly take advantage of the already predefined pulses simply by selecting the model. And now let's go to Photoshop and let me show you one more important thing that you should be aware of. So if I go back here, I will turn these off and I'm gonna copy this square checkboard intentionally. I'm gonna paste it here and let's just quickly fit it into our image. And now if we lower the opacity, you will notice that on some areas, since later we're gonna split those in one application, you can see that we're getting some feet and other parts of the model peeking into other frames, which can be problematic and it will require a little bit of cleaning. And also, not every single frame is perfect. If you have more time, you can spend and clean up everything on your own. But I'll just do a real basic cleaning to show you how I do it, since it's quite easy. Let's move this layer below and let me increase my opacity to 50, actually 100, simply because we're trying to clean the whole thing. Let's lower the brush size a little bit. I'm not that worried will this get messed up or not. This frame I'm gonna leave simply because we're not gonna use this frame. But for the other places where I have like boots peeking or something like that, I want to quickly get rid of that. And also here you can notice something else. For example, I got really interesting things happening which are not exactly perfect. For example, this thing peeking here or his additional ponytail here. But since this is quite small images, you can easily go and inpaint them by hand and fix them since you already have the animation poses and everything. But just for time's sake, I'm gonna really roughly clean those up. But this is the process that you want to spend some time, make sure that everything is cleaned up properly and all your frames look nice. I'm not worried that it's not exactly looking like pixel art right now. Don't worry, that will change in a bit. Okay, so let's say this is fine. What we want to do next is we're gonna export this as a PNG. And I'm going to call this warrior. And if we go back to the browser, I'm going to use easygif.com. This is a pretty useful site specifically for creating GIFs or sprite animations. And what you want to do is once you're on the website, I'm going to put the links below so you can easily go to them. You want to go to split. And here you want to upload your file. Hold on. So let's select this, our warrior, and let's press upload. And we're gonna end up on a page that looks like this. What we want to do is split to frames, but I forgot I need to use the split sprite sheet cutter. So let's upload them here. And now we have to take into consideration this. We have a row of 5 horizontally and a row of 5 vertically. So I'm going to select by number of columns. I'm going to leave those to 5. I'm just going to press cut. And this tool will split all those images into frames for me. And now we can convert this into a GIF. Create GIF animation. Now I can see all of my frames and the delay that they have. So what I want to do is, since frame 10 is empty, I want to skip this one. And let's quickly get a preview of our animation. Let's make a GIF. As you can see here, we can see all of our animations together. But simply, I don't want to export all of them at once. I want to do those individually. So what you can do is, since our first animation has 9 frames, I'm just going to press skip to every other one. And I'm going to make this to a GIF. Also, what you want to do in situations like this is resize everything to make sure that everything is has a equal size. So let's do the skipping part again real quick. Also, I want to reduce the delay of my animation and see how the animation looks. So this is with 15 frames. And let's say I like it like that. I can press save. It's gonna get downloaded. And let's quickly rename this walk. Next, let's keep those. Skip. And let's enable our first 5 frames from the walking idle animation. Let's make a GIF and see how it looks. And you can already see that it's too fast. I can slow it down by adding some delay to it. And let's save this one. Rename this one to idle 1. And let's enable the other 5 ones. Let's make a GIF again. Since it's also an idle animation, I want to make it the same amount of frames with the same delay. Let's rename this one idle 2. And also for the final one, let's enable our hitting animation. Make a GIF. And this one can occur a little bit faster, so I can get back to 15. 17. 17 is fine. And I'm just going to press save for this one as well. And I'm going to rename this one attack. And this is how you make GIFs. I hope this was useful for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.